Good Friday morning to you and your family. It's September 23rd. I'm Ainsley Earhart. We start with a Fox News alert. A third night of chaos down in Charlotte, North Carolina, in the streets down there as rioters attack cops and call for more bloodshed.
Don't be scared of the revolution. There can't be revolution without a little bloodshed. So we have to shed a little blood, so be it.
Wow. We are live on the ground as the curfew lifts.
Terrific. Then, with Hillary fading in some of the polls, she decides to go between two ferns.
What's the best way to reach you? Email?
You've got mail.
I think it's funny, and maybe she doesn't. Will this help or hurt Hillary with millennial voters? We'll tell you.
Lee's got 23 million hits on that. Then, liberal loss, love loss, why Nancy Pelosi could be President Obama's biggest problem right now?
Uh-oh.
Are you perplexed? Are you interested? I hope so, because your mornings are better because you chose to be with friends.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the big show on a Friday.
Yeah, there's so much going on. I don't know where to start. Do you guys?
All right, let's get right to it, Brian.
Let's do it. We're starting with the Fox News alert. A third straight night of protests in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Hundreds of people down there ignoring the midnight curfew, shutting down a highway, chanting for the release of the footage of the shooting of Keith Scott.
But what about the violence? Leland Vitter is live in Charlotte where the mandatory curfew has been lifted. Hey, Leland.
Well, Brian, Steve, Ainsley, good morning. Protests last night, not really riots that we see in the past couple of nights. Police made a very simple deal with the protesters. If you stay peaceful, you can stay out past midnight, and that's largely what happened under the watchful eye of not only the North Carolina National Guard, but also a number of state troopers who have been brought out to keep the peace. That said, at times the protesters got loud, they got angry, sometimes downright threatening. Take a listen to them with our Mike Tobin.
Let me ask you, do you have any idea where we're going?
Touch me. Yeah, I know where you're going.
Where are we going?
We're going to beat your ass if you don't leave me alone. That's where we're going.
Okay, so where we're going, I don't think anybody knows where they're going right now. I think they're just marching all over town.
At one point, they marched and shut down one of the major highways here inside Charlotte. That did not last for long. Sometime during this, two police officers were sprayed in the face with pepper spray or something like that. During these protests, the constant chant was release the tape, talking about the tape of the shooting of Keith Scott. The Speaker of the North Carolina House says releasing the tape has some certain legal considerations. Take a listen.
Out of 120 members in the House, 88 members voted for it, so it was strongly bipartisan. And in fact, that legislation created a mechanism where that information could be obtained by the public. That law, interestingly enough, does not go into effect until October 1st. So right now we're dealing with a period prior to that law, and it's right now entirely up to the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department whether or not they release that video.
Don't know when we'll see the tape of the shooting of Keith Scott. We do know a lot more about his background, though. A rap sheet going back 20-plus years, assault with a deadly weapon ×2, carrying a concealed weapon, most recently DUI. So you have the investigation into his death. Whether that sparks more protests is a big question. And also the racial divide issue here in Charlotte, less than 50 days before an election. That certainly is a key issue now in this swing state. Back to you guys.
All right. Leland, thank you very much. The other issue is, are they going to release the video? And right now, it doesn't look like it.
Family saw it yesterday, and we could not see the gun.
That's what the family said.
And the family lawyer would not answer the question if he even had a license for that gun.
The chief of police there, however, says the video shows that Scott had a gun in his hand before he was shot, but the footage does not show whether or not he definitively pointed the gun at anybody, and that's the problem.
NAACP is calling for the release of that video so that we can all see it and make our own judgment.
Yeah.
And the question is, who's there? Who's protesting? Is it people in the area or is it people outside the area?
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
You read about this.
Yeah,
Yes.
according to one report, 70% of the people that have been arrested 2 nights ago had out-of-state IDs. Quote, they are not protesters, they are criminals. That according to a Charlotte police sergeant.
You know, these are the protesters that have flown in from Ferguson. They also participated in Ferguson, Baltimore, and Baton Rouge. So these are people who just go around the country protesting. 70% of the people arrested, their IDs are not North Carolina.
So how are they able to afford that? Well, in many cases, keep in mind, it was about, a year or two ago, George Soros donated $33 million to social justice organizations to help turn, for instance, Ferguson into what had been a local protest into a national flashpoint. So you've got a bunch of instigators going in, according to news sources down in Charlotte, agitating the police, agitating the folks. Listen to this.
Keith Scott! Trayvon Martin! Sandra Bland! Emmett Till! These are the people that we're fighting for, and so many more that I can't even name the names. They could go on forever. But these are the people that we're fighting for. These are the people that we're marching for. These are the people that we're standing up for. So don't be scared. Don't be scared of the revolution. There can't be revolution without a little bloodshed. So we have to shed a little blood, so be it.
Well, I mean,
shed a little blood.
That is the philosophy, and the question is, even though that's life and death, and that is more important, you can't escape the fact that this is the political season with the first debate 3 days away and the election just over 40 days away. And the question is, if you were to image Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump as president, how would they handle it, and where do they stand?
Well, Donald Trump says that he's going to reach out to all the mayors, and he blames all of this on Hillary Clinton. Listen.
I will extend my hand to every mayor in this country who wants to be a partner in making our cities safer for their citizens. That's what's going to happen. But to do this, we must work with our police, not against our police. They are great people, and they do a great job. Those peddling the narrative of cops as a racist force in our society, and this is a narrative that is supported with a nod by my opponent. You see what she's saying, and it's not good. Shared directly in the responsibility for the unrest that is afflicting our country.
So there's Donald Trump in Pennsylvania last night with a law and order message. He did say specifically, however, any wrongdoing by police needs to be vigorously addressed. He also tweeted out late last night, spoke with Governor Pat McCrory of North Carolina. He is doing a tremendous job under tough circumstances.
No doubt about it. For Donald Trump to come out with a nuanced response caught many by surprise because he's a law and order guy, and they thought, well, law and order could be the message that could deliver North Carolina to his column. But he also had sympathy and said if there's a problem, we need to address it. Unlike Hillary Clinton, when she called into the Steve Harvey show, says that she thinks she can reach out to white people. I was kind of shocked by that.
We just haven't heard her talk much about it because she's pretty much been off the trail.
Right. Let's look at some of the poll numbers, recent poll numbers in the swing states, because we only have, 46 more days until this election.
The meters running in the great state of my birth, Iowa. Look at that. Donald Trump right now is leading by 7. You go out to Colorado.
Oh, look at Johnson with 10% of that vote. It's also New Hampshire. He's got a big,
it's substantial
big upside there.
Well, it's the millennials. They don't want to vote for her. So what are they doing? They're looking at him.
Now, in Colorado, this is stunning because Donald Trump did terrible in Colorado in that very bizarre primary, but he's now closed within 2 points in Colorado. Again, Johnson with 10.
Virginia, he's closing the gap there. She's getting 45%. He's getting 39%. But look at Georgia.
Yeah, no kidding. He's up by 7. Virginia is stunning, just the fact that he was so far behind and suddenly he's catching up.
But there was concern in Georgia that it was leaving the red column and it was going to be going to the toss-up or lean right. And
well, that was a
narrative.
That was a narrative they were trying to spin. But now you look at it, now the people are starting to think. And it's all going to come down to, the debate, the 3 debates where we see them side by side. It's interesting. The folks behind Between Two Ferns put together these videos every once in a while with Zach Galifianakis.
Live Funny or Die?
Same website. Apparently, it turns out they did not ask Donald Trump to do one of these, but this is how the brand new one with Hillary starts. How did it go? Well, it went something like this.
What happens if you become pregnant? Are we going to be stuck with Tim Kaine for 9 months? How does this work?
I could send you some pamphlets that might help you understand.
Are you down with TPP?
I'm not down with TPP.
No, you're supposed to say, yeah, you know me. Like the hip-hop group.
Don't tell me what to say.
Any regrets over losing the Scott Baio vote?
Not a one.
So it wasn't heartbreaking that...
No.
Yeah, but Chachi. What's the best way to reach you? Email?
It was absolutely hysterical. I said before we came out about a half hour ago, it had 23 million hits. So I mean, yeah, it's unbelievable. So he's trying to get the young vote, and would he be successful? Because she is shedding millennials like my dog in the summer. Which, by the way,
your
my
dog
whole house
sheds
has
millennials?
been, yes, but like sheds hair, I should say.
Oh,
my whole house, it looks like I put cotton all over the place. But that's a whole different story. Yeah. So will this help her get millennials back?
It can't hurt. And she needs help.
Donald Trump would be great on this.
If you go on a show like that, you have to be funny, though. You have to be able to respond. Like, you'd be really good on that, Steve. You'd be good on that. I would be terrible on that show.
She's playing the deadpan. What'd you think about it? Email us, friends@foxnews.com. In the meantime, 6:10 here in New York City. Time for some
Heather,
news.
would that make you nervous going on with
I
Zach?
like that down with the TPP part. And then those awkward long pauses.
On purpose.
Those are something else, I guess so. All right, good morning to all of you. I'll take it from here. I've got a couple news headlines I want to bring you right now at 11 minutes after the hour. The female police officer who shot and killed an unarmed black man in Tulsa, Oklahoma, has been charged with first-degree manslaughter. Well, that dash cam video sparking national outrage, showing Terrence Crutcher with his hands in the air before Officer Betty Shelby shot him. She says she opened fire when she saw Crutcher stick his arm through an open car window. But Crutcher's family attorney says an enhanced picture of that window shows that it was, in fact, closed. Officer Shelby now faces between 4 years and life in prison. The terror suspect, Ahmed Rahami, his father says, "I told you so." Rahami, the father, spoke to the Associated Press this morning, and he said he warned the FBI that his son had become, quote, bad, saying that he was showing interest in terror groups, including Al-Qaeda, and even warning them about his fascination with jihadi videos. Rahami remains unconscious in the hospital in critical but stable condition. And brand new details coming in overnight about what sparked a workplace shooting that left several people dead. Police in Athens, Tennessee say that an angry factory worker opened fire, killing two of his bosses before turning the gun on himself. Witnesses say right before the shooting, he was visibly upset after a closed-door meeting. And this guy sparking national outrage for disrespecting our national anthem, and now Colin Kaepernick is being celebrated over the cover of Time magazine. Time calling him the obvious choice for their cover because his national anthem protest movement has spread so far. The picture of him kneeling in his uniform captioned "The Perilous Fight." Kaepernick says he earned the cover, but many critics say it's unpatriotic. He earned the cover. What do you all think of that one? That's certainly an interesting debate to have.
That's a perfect signal. Please write us, tell us, tweet us, email us, because we'll be going over that throughout the show.
Yeah.
Thanks, Heather.
I'll see you soon.
All right, coming up on this Friday, he's a lifelong Democrat, but this elected official says he cannot vote for Hillary. Why? We're going to talk to him next.
And the administration in a rush to swear in illegals as American citizens ahead of the election. So who do you think they will vote for if they are sworn in right away? Democrat Andrew Stein says even his lifetime party loyalty cannot make him vote for Hillary Clinton, and he is now supporting, get this, Donald Trump. So what's behind the defection? Former New York State Assemblyman, New York City Council member Andrew Stein joins us in studio to explain. You wrote this in the Wall Street Journal, an editorial.
Yes,
You're
sir.
a Democrat, but you're going to go Donald Trump. Why?
Well, first of all, I've known Donald for 45 years. And he's a great guy, and he knows how to fix the country. The Democratic Party that I grew up in, the Hubert Humphrey, the John F. Kennedy, the Robert Kennedy, the Democratic Party now is a far-left socialist Democratic Party. And I believe that Donald Trump will The economy's only been growing at a 1.5%, so the Wall Street guys have done well, but the average guy or gal has done terribly under the Democratic administration over the last 8 years. But Donald will cut taxes like JFK and Reagan did. He will strengthen our military, which has been decimated by the Obama cuts and sequestration. And I'm concerned about Israel. He'll be a strong supporter of Israel. And I think he'll come in there with tremendous energy and verve and really change this country. Hillary is a continuation of the same left-wing, ineffective, job-killing Democratic policies.
And Andrew, would you say that if she ran as the 1996 version of Bill Clinton, that you might vote for her, but the fact that she's had to disavow almost everything her husband did is putting you in an odd spot?
It's putting me and I think a lot of other Democrats in a tough spot, because Bill Clinton, by and large, was a good president. But Bill Clinton, the Democratic Party today is not the party of Bill Clinton. So she is running as a socialist Democrat. Right. She can't go far. You don't know where she stands, really. She's going far to the left. And, yeah, if she was running as the Bill Clinton policies of 96, I could support her.
Well, when Donald Trump says, I'm going to get New York, he looks at guys like Andrew Stein and says, I'll show you, I'll prove you, I'll convert some Democrats, and he certainly hopes he's converted others. Andrew Stein, a very significant move, and I'm sure you had your a bit torn writing that column, but thanks so much for joining us.
Well, I was torn, and I believe Donald will do a great job, Brian.
Andrew Stein, thanks so much.
Thanks.
All right, coming up straight ahead, stop and look at this video. A woman comes out of her house, guns a-blazing as thieves break into her house. And we've got the terror text warning live during the show. Remember this?
Rahami, let me dismiss that. I just got an emergency alert about a lookout for this guy. My phone's going off right now.
And so is everybody's phone going off in the building. So some people say it actually terrified them. Should we keep it up? Kurt the Cyber Guy here with the pros and the cons. Next.
It happened live on our show on Monday. Watch.
Rahami, let me dismiss that. I just got an emergency alert about a lookout for this guy because he should be considered armed and dangerous. My phone's going off right now.
And so is everybody's phone going off in the building.
Yeah, we were live on the air. That blaring alert was sent to millions of smartphones all across the New York City area on Monday morning, with the bombing suspect's name and a description urging people to call 911 if they spotted him. And guess what? It worked. Ahmad Rahami was arrested just hours later, but many people are now opting out of that service, claiming that the warnings only caused panic. So let's ask Kurt, the Cyber Guy. Hey, Kurt.
Hey, good morning, Ainsley. We're talking about a little bit of feedback on Twitter, of outrage of people saying, wait a minute, this doesn't help. I'm actually just getting scared by all of this message coming through with the emergency alert system. So this started in 2012. We transitioned from the old radio days to now everybody with smartphones, and it turns out that our local emergency, regardless of where you are in the country, they can turn this on and send you a text message just like we showed you here that happened throughout the New York tri-state area. It was 5 boroughs around here where that alert went off, but the fact is it didn't contain any photographs. It didn't really have expanded information. People didn't quite understand what it was saying other than, hey, see media for pick. Well, what does that mean? A lot of people were saying. The reality is this system, while very effective at getting that message out to a bazillion people at once. It went to millions of people very, very quickly. It also cannot do a lot of things. It cannot send a photograph. It cannot send a link on the web to important information that may actually be helpful to you in reacting in that very moment. But there is something to be said that 3 hours after this went out, he was arrested. He was apprehended not far out of the city of New Jersey.
No. I mean, so people are complaining because it might have been annoying. However, this guy's a terrorist and it might have saved lives.
Correct. Now, your phone didn't go off.
Mine didn't. And I don't know why. I don't know if I don't have the alert on or if I just had the volume down. But Steve's went off, Brian's went off, everyone in in here.
Okay, so this might be what everybody wants to do this morning. The reality is that, so if you get a message, by the way, the president can do this too. The president has a direct connection to your smartphone, and you cannot turn off the White House on your phone. However, you can turn off all your other alerts. But
you can't turn off the White House.
Right, but you might actually want the emergency alerts on, right? Well, let me show you very quickly. If you've got an iPhone or an Android, I'm going to show you online how to do this step by step. It's so easy just to check and see if your emergency alerts are turned on. Let's do the iPhone because I've got that in my hand here. You go to settings. You go simply to notifications here on the left. I click it and you go through all the way to the end of your list of all the apps that have all these notifications. Look at the bottom right there. I'm going to turn on my Amber Alerts, and I'm turning on those emergency alerts. If that emergency alert button was off, it would have not come through your phone. So you want to make sure that you've got those settings turned on. And for Android, it's very similar. We'll put those online.
You know what? I kind of wanted to be, I was upset that I wasn't part of the club. Like, I wanted to get the message.
Well,
I don't know why I didn't.
The truth is, it could be very helpful. There could be, for example, if you lived in the neighborhood of that bombing in New York City, the people in that very, very close-knit area were able to get an alert that said, get away from your windows, stay safe. So don't go outside. I don't remember verbatim what it said, but it was very effective of getting a message very quickly to people to say, get out of the way of danger.
Especially if you have young kids at home.
Right.
You want to keep your family safe. I think it's a wonderful idea. All right, great. Thank you so much.
Good to see you, Ainsley.
Good to see you. Still ahead, one of President Obama's biggest cheerleaders, Nancy Pelosi, could be his biggest problem right now. And get this, illegals suing a university because they were not accepted. Why? They're here illegally. Do they actually have a case?
They're offering the debate in virtual reality, so if you want to feel like you're actually on stage during the debate, here's your chance, Jeb.
Jimmy Fallon last night.
Well, Jeb was on TV this week. He was in the Emmys, where he was an Uber driver for the President of the United States.
Jeb, exclamation point.
I thought he was fantastic at that.
I did too. Yeah. I was so glad to see him do that.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny.
So the big debates are going to be Monday night. You'll see him right here on Fox News Channel. Donald Trump staying hot on the campaign trail while also preparing for the first presidential debate, which is Monday night.
Meanwhile, Hillary Clinton, she is MIA.
Yeah, what's going on? Is she just studying? Fox News' Peter Doocy live outside Trump Tower here in New York City, where Donald Trump's been everywhere. Hey, Peter.
Hey, Brian. And Donald Trump right now is trying to make himself look like the only one rallying and make his opponent look like the only one who is resting, using every opportunity, yesterday included, that he's out on the trail, but she is not, to allude to lingering questions about her health.
Where is Hillary today? Well, they say she's been practicing for the debate. Some people think she's sleeping.
And ahead of that debate, the Clinton campaign is trying to alter expectations for their side, basically warning that if Trump has any success on stage, it would only be because the moderators set a lower bar for him and asked him easier questions. It has only been a few months since Clinton debated Bernie Sanders one-on-one, and she debated Barack Obama one-on-one 8 years ago, but this is going to be the first ever one-on-one debate for Mr. Trump. And he is candid about not wanting to rehearse specific answers too much for the next few days, because he thinks when politicians do that, they freeze up.
I've seen people prepare so much that they get up there and they get locked to or they can't speak. You know, you've seen that too, where they lock themselves in a cabin for 3 weeks and they don't want to do anything else. And I don't know. You have to be yourself, and you have to go up and you just have to do it. So I'm really very much campaigning at the same time I am preparing.
And Donald Trump is not going to use the whole weekend just to prepare for the debate. He's going to continue campaigning in a swing state. He just announced he'll have a big rally down in Roanoke, Virginia tomorrow night. Back to you.
And I know your schedule. You're going to be down in Roanoke, Virginia as well. Peter, here's a question. You went to school in Philly. When Trump was down at Geno's, what kind of cheese did he get ordered on the cheesesteak? Because John Kerry lost the presidency because he ordered Swiss.
The order was not audible from the video that I saw, but I know that people will decide whether or not they're going to vote for you, not just based on the cheese, but also based on whether or not you go to Pat's or Geno's. So it's literally just, pick your side, this side of the street or that side of the street. That's how you pick your president.
Which one do you prefer?
Sometimes. I was always a big Geno's fan. I like the meat folded instead of cut.
That's right, with the cheese whiz, or whiz, as they call it down there.
Yeah. We have now spent more time on his choice of cheese than we did his whole economic plan.
There you go. It's important.
Fantastic.
Don't tell my parents.
What a vicious follow-up. Peter, I am sorry about them. This won't happen again, I promise. Incredible. You try to pin him to the mat on cheese.
He's good on fast food.
Okay.
Peter, thank you.
Thank you, Peter.
All right, it is 25 minutes now before the top of the hour. Heather's got some news.
Yeah, I'm the Wisconsin girl, so she get a vote here on the cheese too.
There you go.
Apparently,
You invented cheese.
Right. My peeps
It was your
invented
idea.
cheese. Of course they did.
What do we do with the extra milk? Let's make cheese.
Good morning, everyone. I hope you're off to a great day. I have a few headlines I want to bring you right now at 35 minutes after the hour. Getting justice for victims of terror attacks. A rare showdown between Nancy Pelosi and President Obama now taking place. The House Minority Leader joining a bipartisan effort to override a pending presidential veto of a 9/11 related bill that would allow victims of the 9/11 terror attacks and their families to sue Saudi Arabia for that nation's alleged involvement in planning the terror attacks. Our president has until midnight tonight to veto that. It would be the first congressional veto override ever for President Obama. That will be a big story throughout the day. And you have to see this heart-stopping surveillance video. A woman in Georgia stopping 3 armed home invaders in their tracks. You can see her as she confronts the suspects with her own handgun, exchanging gunfire as she chases them out of the house.
I got the hurt. They got a gun. Oh, they kicked the door coming in. They kicked the door.
Well, one of those suspects later died. The other 2 robbers are still on the run. How terrifying. A bombshell email from immigration bosses now showing the Obama administration literally working overtime to swear in immigrants as U.S. citizens, hoping to impact the 2016 election. The email says, quote, the field office, due to the election year, needs to process as many of their N-400 cases as possible between now and FY fiscal year 2016. If you have any cases in this category or other pending, you're encouraged to take advantage of the OT if you can. I assume that means overtime. Well, they're not even supposed to be in the country to begin with, but now they are demanding an education. 3 illegal immigrants suing Georgia's university system, the entire state's university system, for not accepting them because they're illegal. They say that violates a government program that protects them from deportation so they can study and work in the country legally. But Georgia's policy prevents people who are not lawfully present from attending state schools. Suing them. We will watch that story as it develops. I'll see you back here real soon.
Can't make it up.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Well, September is Brain Aneurysm Awareness Month, and our next guest was one of the lucky ones, and you know him well. He survived after a doctor ran a scan that happened to save his life. He is Rich Big Daddy Salgado. We always tap into you, Rich, when it comes to talking about what's happening in football and sports business and things like that. But this is something that really struck home with you.
Yeah, it's I look in the mirror every morning. I have this beautiful scar here that reminds me of my issue that I had, and I let people know about it.
What happened?
I was in a pool wrestling, and I had water in my ears, and I for some reason I couldn't get it out. I went to the doctor, and he said to me, he goes, we don't see, what the issue is. The water's out. I got an MRI done, and then they said to me, hey, you need to come back in. There's something else going on. And I went in and they scanned me, and I had this little ball in my head.
And an aneurysm is a weakness in the blood vessel, and it starts bulging, and the bigger it gets, the risk is that it's going to pop.
Yeah, it usually pops, and you've got such a little time to get, you got to get right into an emergency room to deal with that.
Well, that saved your life.
Yeah, we were able to see it before it popped, and I had great doctors out at North Shore LIJ, Dr. David Chaliff and Avi Sutton, who saved my life.
Well, what happens how do you know if you have a brain?
That's the key.
Yeah, well, the key is that people need to go and get scanned. You know, there's millions of people that walk around with aneurysms, and they don't even realize that they have it.
But insurance is not going to cover that, right?
Well, insurance covered mine. I mean, for most part of it, yeah.
Yeah, well, let's look at some of the signs of a possible aneurysm. First up, severe headache, dilated pupils, double vision, eye pain, trouble speaking. What are some of the risk factors? I know smoking is one of them, and high blood pressure and stuff.
High blood pressure, smoking, you know, overall your weight, and sometimes it's hereditary.
The other thing is, Rich, you played football your entire life. I mean, up and through the University of Maryland. Do you think banging heads for all those years, could that have done it?
That's brought up. You know, as a kid, accidentally, I was hit over the head with a cooler, and my wife always says to me, she goes, maybe that had something to do with it. And you know what? Because it was one of those things where you got hit, and you just say, hey, all right, I got this little bump, and I rub it off and go on to the next thing. But it could have.
1 in 50 people are walking around right now with an undiagnosed aneurysm, right?
Yeah. There's a lot of people that don't realize that they have it. You know, it's just, I didn't know I had it. I would have never, if I didn't go in for my issue with the hearing, who knows what happens. Did it run in
your family?
No, it does not.
Well, okay, so then that's the stat, 1 in 50 with an unruptured brain aneurysm right now that are watching. So, Rich, real quick, how do we support, what foundation should we go to support things like this?
Well, it's funny, tomorrow I'm doing a walk for the Brain Aneurysm Foundation, which is out in Long Island. And then next Thursday, I'm supporting Lisa Colagrossi, her foundation, who was the anchor who unfortunately passed away. I became friends with her husband, Todd, and next Thursday is a big gala here in Chelsea Piers, and so I'm supporting both of those.
Well, that's great. All right. To find out more about brain aneurysm, you can go to our website, foxandfriends.com, and we will connect you to Big Daddy's website.
Great. Thank you.
All right. Daddy, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Coming up on this Friday, major business news this morning. 2 companies have just created the biggest hotel chain in the world, what it means for your next vacation. Coming up.
And just days away from the first presidential debate, what can the candidates learn from the elections of the past?
Now we have an opportunity to move toward national health insurance. Governor Reagan, again, typically is against such a proposal.
Governor, there you go again.
Coming up next, we're going to take a look back.
Oh, there you go. The first Donald Trump-Hillary Clinton presidential debate is sure to be one for the history books, record-wise. But what can the candidates learn from debate moments from the past to help them win next week?
Well, here with a look back is former Republican debate coach and campaign manager, Jay Townsend. Hey, Jay.
Good morning. Nice to be with you today.
Jay, we were just discussing, this is going to be like no other debate, but you do want to talk about some debates to give us some relevance.
These are high-risk propositions. Like I say, it's not like a tennis match. It's hard to get hurt. It's more like the Indianapolis 500. There is no safety net. Once they walk onto the stage and they're behind the podium, one little mistake can derail a career. It could be lethal. And there are plenty of examples of that if you watch what's happened in televised debates since 1960, where candidates have actually derailed their career and cost themselves the election by gaffes they have made during the debate.
Like, for example, Al Gore, who knew all the answers, but maybe his body language didn't work.
Watch this.
Here he is with George W. Bush.
Like, what's your philosophy and what's your position on issues? But can you get things done? And I believe I can.
I remember that. He invaded his personal space and people didn't like it.
You know, there was a debate in the year 2000. Hillary Clinton's opponent did that to Hillary
Rick
Clinton.
Lazio.
And he got into her space, and it cost him the election.
Because it looked like he was going to punch him.
It did. And this was a typical example. And part of Gore's problem, they had 3 debates. Gore had a different personality in every single debate, and they wondered who he really was.
Sure.
I still do.
We were talking to Donald Trump yesterday about whether or not he would prefer a moderator or a fact checker. He said a moderator. You don't want a fact checker like 2012 and Candy Crowley. Watch this.
It took the president 14 days before he called the attack in Benghazi an act of terror.
Get the transcript.
He did, in fact, sir. So let me call it an act of terror.
Can you say that a little louder, Candy?
He did call it an act of terror.
She was wrong, and it cost Romney because he just sat there.
You cannot let something like that stand. She corrected him. She was wrong. He was right. He stood there and took it like an admonished schoolboy, and you can't allow that to happen in front of a national audience. Sure. That's not presidential. It was not strong.
I'll tell you someone who was presidential and won the race was Ronald Reagan. He was the master at debating. Watch this clip.
And I want you to know that also I will not make age an issue of this campaign. I am not going to exploit for political purposes my opponent's youth and inexperience.
Even Mondale thought that was funny.
Yeah, goodbye, Walter Mondale.
Right?
Yeah.
But part of the reason is because Reagan had such a terrible first debate. They were wondering if he could bounce back.
He did.
That showed everybody that he could bounce back.
Right, absolutely. So the bad narrative on Reagan was he was beginning to lose it. This showed he still had everything he needed to be president.
Well, remember Carly Fiorina, she was in like the second-tier debate and then ended up doing so well that she ended up making it into the top debate this year.
Right. So let's talk about 1980, Reagan versus Carter, the incumbent. Here they are head-to-head. Listen.
Now we have an opportunity to move toward national health insurance. Governor Reagan, again, typically is against such a proposal.
Governor, there you go again.
That line, there you go again, just like the one earlier about the age, those are pre-planned things they're going to say. They just have to find the space to use it.
If I were Trump's debate coach, I would show him that clip because she is going, I would expect, goad him and try and goad him into losing his temper. If he does, he loses. If he doesn't or comes back with something like that, he scores.
Right. He just never, the thing is so intriguing, there's never been in a one-on-one debate before.
There is so much on him that he cannot deal with these one-on-one. He has to pass them off with a general stroke.
If he stays on message, will he win?
Yes.
All right.
Jay Townsend, great to talk to you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for your own perspective.
Right.
All right. Coming up straight ahead.
He is a born leader and a champion, and he wants Donald Trump to be your next president. Look at that in the green room. Coach Bobby Knight is going to join us live. Yes,
right.
You.
He better smile soon. He's getting me nervous. And you know him from the hit show Scrubs, but this morning, Donald Faison is battling us in a game of Operation.
You know him as Dr. Turk on Scrubs. Now actor Donald Faison is teaming up with other TV doctors to try and help save real people's lives.
That's right. We are the TV Doctors of America, and we're partnering with Cigna to help save lives.
By getting you to a real doctor for an annual checkup.
So go, know, and take control of your health.
That is hilarious. There you are with Alan Alda, the guy from MASH, and joining us right now is Donald Faison. Nice to see you.
How you doing? Nice to see you.
You're not a real doctor, but you play one on TV.
Absolutely, yeah. I got my degree at NBC and ABC, and
you've been on a doctor show for years, though. So if you really had to help somebody.
I'm not the person to come to.
Really?
No, I am truly a TV doctor. I am not a real doctor. If you are sick, go see someone. Okay? Go to your doctor, and that's exactly what the commercial is about. We're trying to get people into the doctor's office to check on their health for their annual checkup. The CDC believes that they can save 100,000 lives this year. Yeah, with just preventative care. Sorry, not preventive care.
That's
preventive is not a word. Everybody out there thinks it's a word, but it's not. With preventive care, and that usually starts with your annual checkup.
I grew up with Operation, and because you're a TV doctor, you do everything giant size. Explain this operation.
This is the game Operation, and I guess you and I are going to reach in here and take out some unique bones.
All right. The whole idea is do it before the guy's schnoz goes off.
Well, if you touch the sides of the of this beautiful thing, the schnoz will go off.
Let me see how fast you can remove a bread basket, Donald.
The bread basket is the easy one. Now you're up next.
All right, fine.
All right, now I want you to remove the wishbone, please.
The wishbone.
Oh, I saw it. I saw it. We all saw it.
I'm not good. I'm a little
We all
shaky.
saw it.
I'm a little shaky. Oh, darn it.
You're doing a great job. Everybody's talking about it.
Why can't I use my clean hand? Here, Mr. Show-Off.
Okay.
Use two at once.
What do you want me to
I
get?
want you to take out the wishbone and the water on the knee. You have 10 seconds.
No, I got more than that.
No, you got 10 seconds.
Which one did you say?
Water on the knee.
Okay,
Right
hold on.
here.
This is, all right, I'll go like this first. This is taking forever.
Oh, he got that
Boom.
one. And the wishbone right over there.
All right, now if I do this, are you going to go get your annual checkup?
Absolutely.
Right on. Come on, baby.
No. No, come on. Where's the nurse?
I'm done. I'm done.
Fantastic. All right.
Thank you for
thank you
having me.
very much. And thanks for trying to save 100,000 lives.
Nice.
All right, coming up, President Obama says there is no need to worry about all the refugees that are coming into our country, but Texas is worried. So what are they doing about it? Something big.
Yeah, we'll let you know, of course. And many say he's the guy who tipped Indiana in Donald Trump's favor and gave him the nomination. He's here with us. Bobby Knight, the coaching legend, in studio. Nice to see you, Coach.
Good morning to you and your family. It is Friday. It's September 23rd. I'm Ainsley Earhart. We start with this, a Fox News alert. Another night of violence in Charlotte, North Carolina. And this time, a Fox News reporter is caught in the middle of it all.
Let me ask you, you got any idea where we're going?
That's me. Yeah, I know where you're going.
Where are we going?
We're going to beat your ass if you don't leave me alone. That's where we're going.
Wow. We are live on the ground with the very latest out of North Carolina.
This as Hillary sits down for a hard-hitting interview.
What's the best way to reach you? Email?
So will Hillary's hilarity help her or hurt her? We're going to report, and you will decide between two ferns.
And Jimmy Kimmel has been relentless in making fun of Donald Trump, for example.
Some people are already trying to figure out what they're going to wear for Halloween. You could be sexy Donald Trump if you're on the other side. The only person I can imagine dressing up for Halloween as sexy Donald Trump is Donald Trump himself.
Wait till you hear why he does not pick on Hillary. His explanation will confound you, perhaps. And let me just remind you, because Coach Bobby Knight is looking over my shoulder, reminding me to remind you that your mornings are better because you're with friends. A little bit.
He does not think that's funny either.
I know, he's staring at me. Coach is going to be on the couch in a second, talking about the election and so much more.
That's right. But first, let's get right to that Fox News alert. It's been a third straight night of protest down in Charlotte.
Hundreds ignoring a midnight curfew, shutting down a highway, and chanting for the release of the footage of the shooting of Keith Scott.
Rick Leventhal is live in Charlotte, North Carolina with the latest on the protest and how the Scott family is reacting to the police investigation. Rick, they got to see the video yesterday, right?
They did, and we'll have more on that in just a minute. Steve, first of all, the third night was largely peaceful, certainly compared to Tuesday and Wednesday nights. We didn't see the looting or the destruction of property, thanks in part, as you mentioned, the midnight curfew, also that state of emergency, which allowed them to call in hundreds of National Guard troops and state troopers who helped out the Charlotte police to block many of the businesses in the uptown district, the business district of Charlotte. So the demonstrators were not allowed to get as close as they had been the last couple of nights. For the most part, the Officers allowed this large crowd of demonstrators, estimated at 700 plus, to march freely through the streets, but tear gas was used when some of the demonstrators tried to block a stretch of Highway I-277. A couple of officers reportedly hurt when they were sprayed by some kind of chemical agent. As you heard, many in the crowd chanting, "Release the tape," and "We want the tape," referring to the police body cam and dash cam video of the shooting of 43-year-old Keith Lamont Scott on Tuesday afternoon. But others in the crowd said this was about much more.
Keith Scott! Keith Scott! Trayvon Martin! Trayvon Martin! Sandra Bland! Sandra Bland! Emmett Till! Emmett Till! These are the people that we're fighting for, and so many, many more that I can't even name the names. They could go on forever. But these are the people that we're fighting for. These are the people that we're marching for. These are the people that we're standing up for. So don't be scared. Don't be scared of the revolution. There can't be revolution without a little bloodshed. So we have to shed a little blood, so be it.
Well, late yesterday, Scott's family was shown the police footage of the deadly shooting, and their attorney released a statement saying, in part, when told to exit his vehicle, Mr. Scott did so in a very calm, non-aggressive manner. While police did give him several commands, he did not aggressively approach them or raise his hands at members of law enforcement at any time. It is impossible to discern from the videos what, if anything, Mr. Scott is holding in his hands. When he was shot and killed, the statement says Mr. Scott's hands were by his side, and he was slowly walking backwards. Of course, Police Chief Kerr Putney says that the evidence does show that Mr. Scott was carrying a weapon, and he believes the officer's actions were justified that day.
Yeah, so much more to know. Thanks so much, Rick. Appreciate it.
All right, it is now 7:04 here in New York City. Time for some news with Heather.
Yes, and we have an update on the shooting down in Oklahoma, related somewhat to the one that took place on the East Coast. The female cop who shot and killed an unarmed black man in Tulsa, now charged with first-degree manslaughter. Well, this dash cam video sparking some national outrage. It shows Terrence Crutcher with his hands in the air before Officer Betty Shelby shot him. She says she opened fire when she saw Crutcher stick his arm through an open window of the car. But Crutcher's family attorney says an enhanced picture shows all of the windows were closed. Officer Shelby now faces between 4 years and life in prison. The terror suspect, Ahmed Rahami's dad, telling the feds, "I told you so." Mohammed Rahami, just speaking to the Associated Press this morning, he said he warned the FBI about his son and that he had become, quote, bad, saying that he was showing interest in terror groups, including Al-Qaeda. The dad telling the FBI about his son's fascination with jihadi videos as well. Rahami remains unconscious in the hospital in critical but stable condition. Down in Washington now, getting justice for victims of terror attacks. And there is now a rare showdown between Nancy Pelosi and President Obama. The House Minority Leader joining a bipartisan effort to override a pending presidential veto of a 9/11 bill that would allow victims and their family members of the 9/11 terror attacks to sue Saudi Arabia for its alleged involvement in planning those attacks. The president has until midnight to veto it. It would be the first congressional veto override ever for President Obama. A big story throughout the day, and we will follow that one. Jimmy Kimmel taking the ultimate late-night shot at Hillary Clinton by saying she's just too boring to crack jokes about her on his show. Listen to this.
A lot of comments online from Donald Trump supporters asking, why are you always making jokes about Donald Trump and not about Hillary Clinton? And it's true. You know, I do make more jokes about Donald Trump than Hillary Clinton, and there's no question about it, but that's just because Hillary Clinton is boring, okay?
Well, there you have it. Kimmel has had both Clinton and Trump on his show multiple times, and those are your headlines. I'll see you back here in about 20 minutes, gang.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. No doubt about it. One of the turning points in the primary season was when Donald Trump went in Indiana. And if you point to the one person that tipped the scales in his direction, it had to be Coach Bobby Knight. The Hall of Fame coach joins us now on the couch after spending a full day with Donald Trump. Welcome, Coach.
Welcome.
Well, I actually enjoyed the way with St. Donald. I had a good time with him.
St. Donald?
And I've enjoyed watching him. I really enjoyed watching him. I think go about things the way that he thought things should be. I think the man has a lot of really, really good things to bring to the table.
Have you seen him evolve as a candidate? You know, he's new to the politics game since you endorsed him and appeared on his behalf throughout Indiana, up to yesterday when you spent the whole day with him.
Well, you know, I've just watched him, I think, become, I don't know whether mild is to use the word or not, or milder, but I just have seen him take a different approach to how things should be and to go about attacking things and what's wrong. I've really been impressed with the interest that he has in seeing that things are done in the right way.
Coach, did y'all talk about what was happening down in Charlotte, North Carolina?
Not really. I mean, that's... you know, what is there to say? It was wrong. It was, you know, you could go forever. That was not something that we really directed our attention to.
What did you talk about yesterday?
Well, we talked about, from my standpoint, I said this: whoever becomes the next president is going to inherit a lot of problems. And that person is going to have to deal with problems. And that's why I'm strong about Donald Trump, because I think he knows how to deal with problems. He's had businesses all over the world. He's given jobs to people all over the world. And he's had problems. And he's always been able to find a way to straighten that problem out. And that's what I think is the most important thing he brings to this job. The guy is going to work. Hey, this isn't working. We got to figure out what's wrong with this. And we got to get this straightened out. That, to me, is what being president is all about. And I don't think... Has there ever been a president that hadn't had problems?
It's impossible. And most of them are unpredictable.
And who has been the best? It might have been Reagan.
Right.
You know,
adjusting on the fly.
It could, exactly, and that's what I think Donald Trump brings to the table.
Well, you're a great leader, a great coach, and so it's interesting your point of view. You know, what Hillary Clinton and her team are trying to tag him as, he doesn't have the temperament to be president of the United States.
Well, I think that being pretty strong and willed is a pretty good asset to have. I mean, has there ever been a president that was better than Harry Truman? And Harry Truman had a damn good temperament.
Very similar to yours. Coach, let's talk about the cover of Time Magazine. I don't know if you still get it delivered, but if you do, you'll see
anybody?
Colin Kaepernick taking a knee on the cover, and he's the focus. And since that time, you have kids as young as 12 years old taking a knee in Beaumont, Texas, instead of standing for the national anthem. And then in light of this, I expect a huge showing, again, people taking a knee during the national anthem this weekend in the NFL. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think that were I a teammate, were I the coach, were I the owner in a situation like that, I'd have gotten rid of the guy. That's a distraction. We don't need a distraction like that. Our team has got to get together. We've got to have our team play. And now we've got a terrible distraction, a tremendous distraction that really has nothing to do with the competition there. And it's hard for me to imagine anybody that can fault the opportunities one has in this country. There's no country in the world that provides better opportunities for people that are willing to work, willing to sacrifice. And I would have had a very difficult time playing with a guy like that, coaching a guy like that, or having him as a team member.
Well, he's trying to use his celebrity to, you know, change how things are handled in this country.
Well, really, what is that celebrity? I mean, you know...
He's a football player.
He is a football player, but there are a lot of football players that were a lot better than he was, that have never even thought of anything like this.
Yeah, let me bring you to this. You grew up as an athlete and coach in the 60s. One guy that looks up to you, I hosted a show with him for 4 years, Jim Brown. He's an activist player, along with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Cassius Clay. They stood up, and Bill Russell for what's wrong. You respect all those guys. Is this the same thing?
I don't think so. I think what this guy did, he was a pretty decent player at one time. He no longer is. Now he's bringing something to put a light on himself. Russell and Brown did things that they thought were important. They said things that they thought were necessary to be said. And they were two of the greatest competitors that ever lived. And as a football, who was better than Jimmy Brown? As a basketball player, who was better than Bill Russell? Nobody was. And I think these guys were not a distraction in any way.
They had an important issue. They brought it to the forefront, and you supported them then?
I would always, with those two guys, they're two of the best people I have ever known. And I think if somebody were to say to me, Coach, what is there something about your life that is exceptional, that you think that you appreciate as much as anything? And my answer might very well be, well, you know, I'm a friend of Jimmy Brown and Bill Russell, and I don't think I could do anything in my lifetime that would mean more to me than that.
Well, it means a lot to us that you would stop by today.
Yeah.
Coach,
well,
bring the daughter and the
appreciate
coach.
it.
You're special people.
I think it's a wonderful thing that two kind of older guys that are kind of on the borderline of everything get to spend the morning with such a lovely lady. I think you.
He's a legend. Bobby Knight, everybody.
Thank you, Coach Knight.
I'm pretty sure he dissed us, Steve.
Yeah,
pretty good. That's unbelievable. Thanks, Coach.
I love you, Coach. Thank you for coming on. All right, President Obama says there's no need to worry about the refugees that are coming into our country, but Texas, they ain't buying it. So what are they doing about it? I can assure you it is something big.